people, today we will learn about three things: decision statements, truthy, falsy values, and ternary operators. If you haven't subscribed already, do subscribe to our channel and let's start. Okay, to just to give you an overview, decision statement means that you are controlling the execution of your program. Okay, this might not make sense. We'll definitely learn through some programming examples. There is a syntax that has to be followed for decision statements or conditional statements. First we'll see that, and then you will understand. And inside that you'll mention a condition. I'll come to this condition, what this condition is, then you'll put a pair of curly braces. Okay, and then you will write else and put a curly braces over here. Okay, now what is this? As I said, if is a statement. Okay, it's a reserved keyword in JavaScript, and there are few other languages which also use it. And inside this you will have a condition. Okay, this condition will either evaluate to true or false. Okay, again I'm going to repeat, condition will either be true or false always, and there is no third value. It's going to be true or false. And here there is a curly brace. So if I have to tell you clearly, when we write curly brace, we write it when we have to execute some code block. Okay, this block of code, that is the first code block, will execute only if the condition is true. Condition is true. And this code block, the second code block, will execute if condition is false. I hope this is clear, right? So the syntax is if, that is a keyword, and we mention the condition which will evaluate to true or false. If it is false, second set of code block will be executed, and if it's true, first set of block will be executed. And definitely we will learn through examples. Okay. So what can be the condition? In our use case, general use case, I'll say that 5 is greater than 1. What do you think about this? By the way, this is a greater than operator, and 5 is greater than 1, which is true. And what do you think will be executed? Let's see this. Console.log, this is false, and console.log, this is, if I can type properly, this is true, right? So what did I say? If 5 is greater than 1, which is true, this set of block will be executed, and if it's not, this set of code block will be executed. Now let's go and see the answer, and let's see what it is. By the way, I'm going to shift this, and this will be, okay, so let's see the answer. Inspect console, it says this is true. Let's again refresh, and it says this is true. That means that this block of code has been executed. Okay, in if statement, only one set of block will be executed. There are no instances where both this true block as well as false block will be executed. Now let me do it the other way around. Okay, 5 is less than 1. This will print this is false, right? Because 5 is less than 1 evaluates to false, which is not true, right? 5 is greater than 1, so this will give rise to false. Okay, and let's see the console over here. I want to show you something important. I'll just clear this. If you get confused what is true and what is not true, what is false in general, whenever you're writing if else, just come to the console and just do console.log. In this case, 5 less than 1. Okay, and it's going to give you the result. Based on that, you can write your decision statement. Okay, beginners usually find it difficult to evaluate whether it's true or false. It can be for anything. We'll learn other examples as well. Now this is over. What if I write false over here? What is going to happen? See, if I write false, JavaScript knows that, okay, I need not actually evaluate this. This is false. I'm directly going to the false block. So we have this is false. And what if I write it as true? True. Okay, it'll go to the true block. So this is about it. Let's write one more condition. So I'll write const number is equal to, let's say, 100. Okay, and then I'll mention number if it is equal to triple equal to 100. Okay, so this is equal operator. If you write triple equal to, it's going to check the value as well as the data type. Okay, I'll show you what that is, but just concentrate on this. So number is 100, and is it triple equal to 100? Is it equal to 100? We'll write yes, equal and not equal, something like this. So you can see already on the left hand side on the browser, it is equal. What if I write 101? It says not equal because 101 is not equal to 100. Let's come back to this triple equal. People might have got confused, those who are beginners. Otherwise, you can skip this part. Okay, there's a difference between double equal to and triple equal to. Now, what I'll do is I'll write some things over here. So let's say 100 triple equals 100. It's going to give me true. Okay, because here the value is also 100 and both the data types are also numbers. If you don't know data types, you can check out our previous video. Now, what if I do 100 triple equals 100? It's going to give me false. Yes, my value is 100 itself in both the cases, but in the first case, it's a string. In second case, it's a number. So if you write triple equal to, it's going to evaluate to false. Okay. In this case, if you're doing these kind of comparisons, what I recommend and also JavaScript recommends is you do double equals. This is going to check value, but not the data type. So I hope this difference is clear. Now let me just do 100 equal. That is because 100 is definitely equal to 100. Okay. So that is the difference between double equals and triple equals. And most of the time we use triple equals because we have to be really sure about the value as well as the data type used. Now let's say, okay, I checked whether this number is equal to 100 or not. But what if I have to check the range? The 0 is greater than the number. Okay, it is. Second thing, I want to check whether that number is less than 200. And how will I check that? Right? I can put up my first condition in the first if block, but then what I have is an else block. So therefore, I won't get an opportunity to do further checks. But it's not like that. You have something called as else if. Okay, and what does else if do? It's the same thing. First, your code actually executes the if block. It checks whether this condition is true. If it is not true, you can write another condition in else if. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say is if number is greater than 0 or number is greater than 50 and number is less than 200. Okay, this is used for short circuiting. So if you don't know, I'll definitely provide resources in the description. So number is greater than 50. Yes, it is true. And number is less than 200. So I'll write it lies between 50 and 200. Okay, and then I'll write an else block that says simply console.log greater than 200. Of course, I can write multiple else if blocks, but this is enough for now. Okay, now if I write 100, it'll check 0 is greater than 100. It is false. It won't go to the else block directly. There is an else if. It notices that. It checks whether 100 is greater than 50, which is true. And it will also check 100 is less than 200. If I put an ampersand, definitely it'll check both the statements on the left and right side. So these are called as the logical operators. Okay, and. Okay, so 100 is greater than 50, true. 100 is less than 200, that is also true. If both are true, then only it goes to the this block, and it prints it lies between 50 and 200. What if I write negative 100? Yes, equal, because 0 is greater than the minus 100. Now, what if I write plus 1000? What will it give me? It says greater than 200, because 1000 is obviously greater than 200, and it goes to the else block. Now pause the video and write one more statement to check whether the number is greater than 500 or not. So let's do that. So we have to check whether the number is greater than 500 or not. I'll use else if number greater than 500. Okay, I can also check whether the number lies between 201 and 500, but I won't be doing that. I'll check whether number is greater than 500, and here I'll mention 500, and definitely you will have greater than 500 because the number is 1000. Now I'll mention 5000, again greater than 500. Now let me change this 5000 to 500, and now I don't have an input. Why is that so? See, clearly understand. 0 is greater than 500 evaluates to false. This number also doesn't lie between 50 and 200, so this will evaluate to false. And this condition checks whether the number, that is 500, is greater than 500, which is false. 500 is equal to 500 but not greater than. That is why always make a habit of writing an if statement that actually does a lot of things for you in real world application. If none of the condition is met, it'll directly go to the else block after checking all the conditions. So console.log, this is else. So I have my code block in else. So at a time to revise, one code block is executed. It goes inside this statement only if this condition written in between the parentheses is true. And then if it is not true, it won't go to the else block. If there is else if, it evaluates that and then finally go to the else block. So let me remove this. Okay. Okay, so this is else. So this is one of the statement. Now, one more thing that you have to understand, it is possible to write nested if statements. Okay. Now you're going to tell me what is he even telling? I can write an if statement inside another if statement. So let's try to understand what that is. You've already learned about one if else statement. So let's try one more. If my string str is equal to hello, I'm going to come over here, and if my str dot length, it's a bit complex program, but deal with it. We'll talk about what are these methods. Was equal to 5. This is true. Otherwise, else. Else. Okay, now what is happening? First of all, it's complaining that str is not defined. So I'm going to change str to hello. Str.length is not defined. I don't know what happened. Okay, so it says str.length is not defined. First of all, it should be str.length and not str.length call. Okay, now what is happening over here? Well, I said we will be learning nested if, and I've written some syntax which is definitely out of your senses. Okay, now let me just start. See, I have a string which is hello, which is of 5 characters or 5 letters. First, I'll check whether my str is triple equal to hello. It'll check for the content as well as data type. Yes. I'll go inside and check for another if statement saying that str.length is equal to 5. That means whether the hello whatever we have written is 5 characters long or 5 letters long. Of course, we'll learn about um, string methods in a different video, and here it found out that yes, it is true that it's 5 characters. So yes, this is true. Now that you know decision statements, if else statements, we will learn about truthy and falsy values. Okay, so what are truthy or falsy values? Well, again, to tell you, whatever I write inside this parenthesis in the if statement evaluates to true or false, right? But there are some data types, some keywords which also evaluate to true or false. Okay, what are those? Let's discuss. So I'm going to write if, I'm going to write console.log true, and else console.log false. Okay, so condition is missing, so that is the reason I have an error over here. So what am I trying to prove? Well, what if I write 0? It's false. 0 in JavaScript is considered as a falsy values. However, the type of the 0 is going to be number, but it will always evaluate to false. Okay, and what if I write -0? That's the same thing. It's going to evaluate to false. So these are called as falsy values. And when do we use it? I mean, most of the times we use it whenever our variable actually returns a 0, we can directly put up a variable, right? For example, condition is equal to 0. And of course, there is no constant let. Let me use let, and let me use condition inside this. And here it's going to evaluate to false. Okay, assume that this is something that I've got from my application, a return statement or something like that. Any value above 0 will evaluate to true. I'll write 98, true. I'll write a simple one, it is also true. I'll write -100, what do you think will happen? It's true as well, right? So this value 0 is a special value which will evaluate to false. So if it is 0, it is false, and anything other than 0 is true. So we spoke about numbers, we spoke about falsy values with respect to numbers, but what about strings? I mean, strings are also data types, right? Well, to your surprise, empty strings are considered as false. I have written this empty quotes, single quotes. And what if I have something inside this? Let's say yes, this is considered true. So in numbers, if it is a 0, it's considered as false, and anything other than 0 is considered as true. But in strings, empty string, the string with no characters, are considered as false values, and anything other than that considered as true. Now, two more values that are like very important. One is null and one is undefined. And again, the same thing, if I write undefined, it's considered as false. Okay. And null, what about null? Null is also considered as false. So this is about truthy and falsy values. I hope it is very clear. What if I don't write anything, I don't declare anything, what will happen? It's of course false again. This is because I haven't declared anything, so that is the reason it shows this is undefined by default, and undefined is considered as false. Now let us learn about ternary operators. Generally, what happens is in a particular situation, we have to write if and else statement, and we usually write it most number of the times. And you might have observed when I have nested if and if statements in general, code becomes not that readable. So JavaScript introduced something called as ternary operators, which is also there in other languages, but in JavaScript, it's quite easier to write. Let's understand. So earlier I had this const condition, and that is equal to, I don't know, let's say 5,000, something like that. And if of condition is greater than 4,000, I had to, well, let's also make a variable to actually store the answer. So let result, and I'm going to initial as null because I don't know what to assign it. It's going to be a string. So I'll say result is equal to yes greater than 4,000. Of course, these are not real world examples, but definitely I hope you understand. So I wrote 400, which is a mistake. Else, I say result is equal to not greater than 400, greater than 4,000, greater than 4,000. Of course, I messed up the codes. I hope you won't do it. Okay, now what happens? Of course, I don't have a console.log. I have console.log and result. Now what happens? Yes, there is a greater than 4,000. If I do it 500, yes, not greater than 4,000. Well, this is very easy to understand, but there is a better way to write this. How is that? Well, I'm going to erase that if else statement and rest of the variables remain same. Now result is null, of course, so that is the reason I'm going to comment it down. Now let's write this result. Okay, result is equal to, understand what I'm trying to do. I'll write a syntax first. Okay, let me write the syntax so that you understand. So this is variable where I'll store something. Okay, this is a variable and that is equal to my condition, whatever the condition is, question mark. Okay, condition question mark true colon false. Now what the hell have I written over here? See, this is the storage variable where I store whatever it is. In this case, it's going to be result, and then the condition, which means that whether my value is greater than some other value or something like that. Whatever we wrote in the each statement parenthesis, the same thing. If the if okay, so I've messed it up. Then a question mark. This is a must. This is a syntax. If this condition is true, this set of block will be executed. If it is false, this set of block will be executed. Let's see an example. So it's going to be result. And I said that whether my condition is greater than 4,000. Okay. If it is true, yes, else no. Okay, I've used single quotes and double quotes so that just to teach you. Okay, now what happened? Let's try to analyze. Okay, condition is the 5,000 and it's greater than 4,000. Yes, it's true. So my result will store this value, this subsequent value. If it is false, it will store this value. So that is the reason it's very important to have a storage variable on the leftmost side before the condition. So whenever I uncomment, result will be yes. And if I write 500, the result will be no, because 500 is definitely less than 4,000. Okay, I hope you have got whatever we discussed. Do leave a like and also let me know what are the queries that you have. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.